So guys, we're going to talk about none other than BT-15. So I'm kind of excited for this set a little bit more than upcoming sets because of the Dark Masters and a few other like Mugen support in it. So let's kind of just talk about all the goodies that you're going to see across this set. So without further ado, let's get into the video and talk about it. About the red, we're going to go in color order and just kind of talk about usefulness and what I kind of expect to see viability wise. So first off, we do have Yokomon as your Digitama. So on deletion, return one Digimon card with avian, bird, beast, animal, sovereign, or other than sea animal in one of its traits from your trash to your hand. So this helps cycle in what is known as the Phoenixmon deck. This Yokomon is basically the one you want to play because it just helps cycle things in. It keeps your pieces flowing, and it should make the deck more functional. That is a big if the deck will become overly competitive, but I definitely think this deck probably maybe reached bottom tier 2 with the support. I don't think it's going to push tier 1 status, but at least maybe reach the tier 2 status, as it's been trying to get there from its tier 3. So the more and more support it gets, the better it gets. But Biomon definitely is a good part of this deck. Start of your main phase by trashing one Digimon with avian, bird, beast, animal, or sovereign other than sea animal in one of its traits to your hand. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add one card among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of the deck. So this is a red card searcher, at least as long as you toss one of your birds. That really does help out actually, because now it's similar to how the trainings work, that you can grab any of your red cards. So this is vital in a way that you want to have. But also, your turn once per turn when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, gain 1 memory. So when you hit your opponent's security, very useful. Then we have Muchumon. So your turn once per turn when a red Digimon attacks a player, draw a card. Kind of similar to how Blue Flare got a drawer in the form of if you play a Blue Flare, you kind of draw, but when your red Digimon attacks a player, draw a card. So I think this card is kind of good for the deck, but we'll see if it actually sticks around in the long term. Early format, I think, might show 1 or 2 copies might be in the deck, just because when your red Digimon attacks, it's a draw. Draw advantage in the card game is super important, especially with some decks that just struggle a little bit. Then you have Meramon. So main effect, by paying 2 memory, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon. So this Digimon will probably see a lot of competitive play. The reason for this is it's a 3 cost 4000 DP. Means any of the annoying rookies that you're going to be dealing with, the memory blockers, so Terriers, anything like Terriermon, Psychmons, and Pumamons, any of those that kind of just prevent you from playing the game in a certain way, you can use Meramon. And I think this will see competitive play in a lot of decks that, like the Royal Knights, like a red deck, anything that just wants to play something. Being able to just sacrifice 2 memory is not terrible in a trade-off, especially if you got 3 memory out of the deal. You play this, pop their thing. If you had that memory gain, you pass their turn with 2, but now you have a way of always consistently removing a nuisance that are the memory blockers, so, or the negators or anything like that. So being able to see this card is probably one of the more competitive cards, I think, just because even though you're sacking 2 memory, being able to remove those threats that are just overly powerful early on is really good, especially if it hinders your game plan in any capacity. Then we have Akitorimon. So once per turn, when one of your Digimon attacks a player, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. I don't see this much seeing play. It could definitely see play in the Avian deck, but I mean, the Biomon, Phoenixmon deck, but I really don't think so. There's just no room for this splash ability here. Then you have Tyrannomon. So we got a new Tyrannomon. It is red-purple. So on play, reveal the top 4 cards to your deck, add 1 Digimon card and 1 Tamer among them with SOC traits among them to your hand. Return the rest of the bottom deck in any order. Then if you added a card, trash a card in your hand. I see the possibility here, especially with the new Lugamon support that came in. This could definitely see maybe a possible play, just because of the, adding a Digimon and a Tamer, and then you just trash 1 card. So out of the top reveal cards, I don't think that's bad, especially because it's an on play and you can play them with your effects. So, I don't know. I think this might see competitive play. Who knows? It definitely being a blocker is really nice too. But it's definitely going to see... the only deck I see this really seeing play right now in is the SOC deck, which is the Lugumon deck. Then we have Shoutmon ×2. The only downside of this card right now, I think, is it's just because it's an enhancement. Yes, I know that it's weird that this was basically before they formed a real team, and Shoutmon ×2 was really the only fusion they had back then, but it's actually quite decent. You can actually play this with the Zendro, yeah, Zendro, because the one that plays Ballistamon. So he comes in for free with Ballistamon for basically a 2 cost, which isn't terrible. So start of turn, by deleting this Digimon, gain 1 memory. On play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimons. This is if you Digicross with 2 cards, that Digimon cannot unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. Rule: this is treated as Shoutmon and Ballistamon. Digicross 1 Shoutmon and Ballistamon. When you would play this card, you may play specific cards, you know, in your battle area or in your hand, or if you use the Tamers of, you know, using the rest of the Tamer effect and then put it underneath there. But that's just a decent card for Crossheart. I wasn't expecting to see a new Shoutmon support here, but it's not bad to see it. I think it's decent, maybe a 1 to 2 of in most lists, but it could definitely not see play at all either. Then we have Birdramon here. So when Digimon return 1 Digimon card with Avian, Bird, Beast, Animal, Sovereign, or other animal in one of its traits from your trash to your hand. So it's not a bad cycler, especially when you have to discard with Biomons first and then go into this. That's not bad. Once per turn, when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, gain a memory. So that's the inheritable line here. Then we have Garudamon Ace. So this card is an on-play when Digivolving. So it's not bad because it has the on-play effect. You may place 1 red Tamer card from with a play cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its cost. So it'll help you get your Soras or, you know, Akihiko. I think it's Akihiko. Maybe. The girl that was from BT11. So all turns, once per turn, when a Tamer card is played, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with Blocker. So it's not a bad card, a generalization. Being able to delete when, you know, when a Tamer is played, it just deletes one of your opponents with Blocker. Especially when we're getting into Metal Garurumon format again, that definitely having that inheritable blocker, this Garurumon could answer that very easily by going into the Ace. So that's just not bad, especially if they get to their top and it has blocker. And with the Gabumon giving blocker, if I remember correctly, it gives blocker, that might actually skew data because this card could see meta relevance, because being able to delete the blocker is more vital in some circumstances than not. Then we have Skullmeramon. This one is by paying 2 memory. This Digimon gains security +1 for the turn. Then this Digimon may attack. So basically a pseudo blitz, especially if your opponent gave you 1 memory and you've already Digivolved into this. It's not bad for 2 cost evolve either. You know, this thing being able to gain the security check and then basically says this Digimon may attack means it can at least do a pseudo blitz with just its own effect. So if you promote up, you Digivolve for, you know, they gave you 3 memory, Digivolve for 2, and they don't have a mem setter, you can pay the cost, gain the extra security check, and then basically take 2 security from them. It's not a bad card. Then we have Brachiommon. So on play, when Digivolving, if your opponent has 4 or less memory, one of your opponent's Digimon with 8,000 DP or more cannot attack until the end of your opponent's turn. If your opponent has 4 or more memory, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP. Very interesting way that they want to use and memory manipulate here. I get it, because you can just easily, if they gave you 3, you could just hard play this and lock down their 8,000 DP or more Digimon. You know, there's plenty of possibilities. This card might not, I don't think it'll see much competitive play, but when we get to more and more jankier builds or something like that, I can definitely see somebody trying to test this out. So, compatibility wise, I don't see it, but it has some interesting niche tech. But on deletion, return one of your opponent's Digimon with 7,000 DP or less to their hand. Then we have the new big Phoenix. So on play, when on deletion, if your opponent has 3 or fewer security, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. If your opponent has 4 or more security, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So this also helps out with your inheritables because you can gain memory back. So that's not bad, especially if you're using the other effects to play this one. It's not a bad trade-off. And then when Digivolving, you may play one red Tamer card with 5,000 DP or less, or one red Tamer card from your hand without paying its cost. So that's not bad. I think this is pretty decent. It fits what the deck wants to do, free summoning of a Tamer or Digimon, and it needs its Tamers anyway. Then you have Cannon Dramon, end of turn. Once per turn, if your opponent has 4 or more memory, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. End of turn, once per turn. If you have 4 or more or less, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. So you got your opponent's end of turn, deleting the highest play cost. If you have 4 or less memory, or end of your turn, once per turn, if your opponent has 4 or more memory, delete. So it's kind of wanting to play this 4 game, which is not terrible. This kind of just tries to play around the SOC deck because they're going to try to give you 4 anyway. So it's not bad. I think this could definitely see maybe niche play, but I don't see it competitively playing at the moment. I think maybe in the casual settings, you can definitely see Brachio and Cannon Dramon, definitely. Then you have Sora. Sora is start of your turn. If you have 2 or fewer cards, set yourself to 3. When a red Digimon card is returned from your trash to your hand by returning this Tamer to your hand, you may play 1 red Digimon card with Avian, Bird, Beast, Animal, Sovereign, blah, 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 in one of its traits with 13,000 DP or less from your hand without paying its cost. For each of your opponent's security, subtract 2,000 from the DP of this card. You can play with the effect. So it starts off at 13. Naturally, if your opponent only has 1 security, you get to play that, but, you know, it kind of sucks that it decreases by that much. I get that it's a hard trade-off here, but Sora's not bad. I think it's pretty decent to see her, and I would expect more of what this deck can do once we see more. Twin Wings of Love is a decent option, but let's see what it does. You may play 1 red Tamer card with a play cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its cost. Then, if you have a Tamer with Sora in its name, return 1 Digimon card from your trash to your hand. So it cycles that pieces. Could it see play? Probably. Especially in the deck. You may play 1 Biomon security from your hand or trash without paying its cost, then add this card to hand. So, definitely in the Bird Avian deck, you'll definitely see some play with this card. Then you have Meteor Wing. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon 5,000 DP. For each of your opponent's security, subtract 2,000 maximum DP from the deletion effect. It's really good, actually. For removal-wise, it's huge. The fact that it's tied into your opponent's security, though, is really what hurts it. So, against a Setcon deck, you're kind of screwed here. Any deck that basically wants to long game it, you're kind of in a bad spot. I mean, if you don't deal enough damage, this is not removing much, and because it scales horribly, that's the problem. Now let's get into Blue. Blue definitely got some decent waves of support here. We have Sunemon. Basically, once per turn, when your Digimon effect adds a card to your hand, this Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP until the end of opponent's turn. So a DP booster, not bad. I don't see you getting off Pokemon anytime soon. The basically BT14's Blue Digitama. So, on play, trash this card is Crabmon. Trash the bottom Digievolution of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then, if your opponent has no Digimon Digievolution cards, draw a card. So, basically, Crab Shack support. Then you have Gabumon here. So, Digivolve Sunemon. Start a main phase. One of your Digimon gains blocker until the end of opponent's turn. Then, if you have a Tamer with Matt in its name, draw a card. When attacking once per turn, draw a card. So, at least for the blue version, you actually have a new Gabumon that you can play. Do I see him seeing competitive play with the purple? I don't know, and I don't think so. Then you have Gomamon X Antibody. So, when you can Digivolve on top of Gomamon for 0. On play, when Digivolve, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Sea Animal, Plesiosaurus, Beast Skin, or X Antibodies traits among them to your hand. Return the rest to the bottom of the deck. So, Gomamon's deck theme. And then when Digivolve once per turn until the end of opponent's turn, one of your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer Digievolutions cannot attack. So, basically a stun locker, similar to how that back in the day we had to deal with Stunlock. But, you know, it's good to see it come back in a way, but you can definitely play this in the Dramon deck or in your Plesiomon deck that is basically from BT11. No, not BT11. BT14. Then you have Betamon here, so on play, if played by an effect, one of your opponent's Digimon cannot attack until the end of its opponent's turn. And then Jamming. So this probably would see play in the Crab Shack deck. Then you have Kolomon. So on play, trash the bottom 2 Digievolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then, if your opponent has no Digimon with Digievolution cards, gain 1 memory. So, same thing, it's Crab Shack support. Then you have Garurumon here, so Gabumon for a 2 cost. And then, basically, when Digivolving, if you have a Tamer with Matt Ishida in its name, draw a card. If you do not have one in its name, you may play 1 Tamer with Matt Ishida from your hand for a reduced cost of 3. Basically, it'll cost you 1 for playing the 4 cost ones. Or you can play 1 for free. So that's just an option. And then you have, when attacking once per turn, draw a card. Yeah, drawing a card. Then you have Seadramon with Rush and Jamming. Not a bad card for the Crab Shack. Then you have Weregarurumon Ace. I don't see this one seeing competitively play because Zudamon Ace is just better all around. But it probably might see some small niche play in the Garurumon deck. You know, we'll have to see. So on play, when Digivolving, draw a card. Then if you have 5 or more cards in your hand, trash 1 card in your hand. All turns, once per turn, when one of your Digimon effects adds a card to your hand, one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers cannot suspend until the end of opponent's next turn. Kind of can lock down and lock out your opponent from being able to block, or use their Tamers like Cool Boys or, you know, Ties to reduce Digievolution costs. You know, all this good stuff. So being able to lock down a Tamer might help out. Then you have Scorpiomon, so revealing the top 4 cards deck, add up to 2 level 6 or higher among them to your hand, place the rest at the bottom of the deck. End of turn, by deleting one of your opponent's Digimon, you may play 1 Digimon card with Dark Masters and traits from your hand to an empty space in your breeding area without paying its cost, and it has blocker. So Scorpiomon, just basically the assistant to Metal Seadramon. So definitely keep this in mind that this is Dark Master support. Then you have Divermon, on play, trash the bottom 3 Digievolution of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then if your opponent has no Digievolution cards, you may play 1 blue Tamer card from your hand without paying its cost. Not a bad trade-off. This card is definitely for the Crab Shack. Mega Seadramon, so on play, when Digivolving, by placing 1 card with blue Digimon as the bottom Digievolution, return one of your opponent's Digimon with a level less than or equal to the place card's level at the bottom of the deck. When Digivolving, by placing 1 of your other blue Digimon as a bottom Digievolution card, unsuspend this Digimon. So basically, multi-attacking, fun stuff with Mega Seadramon here. Then you have Punkmon, so on play, on deletion, trash the top 2 Digievolution of all your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digievolution to the bottom of their deck. So not a bad blocker, and especially because he can just self-fulfill his own effect, is not bad. Then you have Metal Seadramon here, the Dark Master here. On play, when Digivolving, return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to the hand. This Digimon can only Digivolve into a white Digimon, so kind of restrictive, but it's for Apocalyptic Mon, or I can only get the Crustmon. So, end of opponent's turn, delete this Digimon. You may play 1 Digimon card with Dark Master's traits other than Metal Seadramon from your hand without paying its cost, and it has blocker as an inheritable. I mean, pretty solid. The card is going to do what it needs to, and I'm excited to see what it can do. You have Plezimon X Antibody. When Digivolving, when attacking once per turn, return one of your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer Digievolution card as this Digimon to the hand. Once per turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer Digievolutions as this Digimon attacks. If this Digimon has Plezio or X Antibody's Digievolution, gain 2 memory. So basically, you're stripping out sources, and you're going to be doing what you wanted to do with Zudamon. Anyway, so you got Plezimon X Antibody anyway. So Matt Ishida, on play, reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 card with Gabumon or Garurumon in its name among them to your hand, return the rest to the bottom of the deck. Your turn, when one of your Digimon adds a card from your hand by suspending the Tamer, gain 1 memory. So, not bad. I mean, it could have been a little bit better, similar to how, you know, Tai worked, but this one, at least because you draw, because you breathe in this deck, it's not a bad card. But will it see competitive play? We don't know. Firefox, return one of your opponent's 4 lower Digimon to his hand. If you have a Digimon with Gabumon or Garurumon in its name, return one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level to their hand instead. So it's not a bad trade-off here. Being able to, if you have Gabumon or anything like that, if they have anything high threat, you can definitely see some removal here. If they have a big stack that doesn't have any bounce protection, you can just get it off the board. Then Wolf of Friendship. This is basically the same card as War Greymon got. It's a warping option. So while you have a Tamer with Matt Ishida in its name, you may use this card ignoring its color requirements. Then by placing 1 Garurumon and 1 Weregarurumon from your trash as the bottom Digievolution of one of your Gabumon, that Digimon may Digivolve into Metal Greymon in your hand, ignoring its Digivolution conditions without paying its cost. So basically for a 4 cost, you can instantly get into your Metal Garurumon. Not bad. And then security, basically playing the Gabumon from your hand or trash without paying its cost, then add that card to your hand. Could it see play? Might see 1 or 2 of, but we'll have to see the longevity of it. Then we have Metal Garurumon. So while you have a tamer with Matt Ishida in its name, and one of your opponent's Digimon has 1000 DP or more, one of your Gabumon may digivolve into this card from your hand with a cost 4, ignoring its Digivolution. It has Evade, so it gets like a multi-protection here. So on top of basically all the battle protections, it has basically an effect protection that's going to make it scary. So when digivolving, 3 of your opponent's Digimon and or Tamers cannot suspend until the end of opponent's turn. Then all turns when this Digimon becomes suspended, you may unsuspend this. So it can get around 2 destructions by effects. Is nasty. This card is just nasty straight around. Now let's talk about yellow. Yellow has a lot less than blue and red, so we'll have to talk about it. Neuromon, basically when attacking once per turn by trashing the top or bottom of your security, gain 1 memory. So you can manipulate and just figure out what you want to do. Then you have Tapirmon here, who's barrier, so when this Digimon would be deleted in battle by trashing the top card of your security stack, prevent its deletion. So basically, I feel like a lot of the support fits more Kentaurusmon's game strategy than it actually fits for Salamon's. But we have Salamon starter main phase. If you have 3 or more security cards, you may add the top card of your security stack to your hand. If you have 2 or fewer security start, you may place 1 yellow card with vaccine traits from your hand to the top or bottom of your security stack. So being able to manipulate the stack is huge. And then all turns, once per turn, when a card is removed from your security stack, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP. So definitely being able to manipulate. Salamon's okay-ish, especially if it's in its own deck. Then you have Jinrimon, so on play, on deletion by trashing 1 card with Numemon or Sukamon in its name from your hand. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus security attack 1 until the end of opponent's turn. Roll this treated as Numemon. Then when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gains security minus 1 until the end of opponent's turn for its inheritable. Definitely could see it in the trash deck. You know, the shit deck. The Edamon deck. Wizardmon on play, on deletion by trashing the top or bottom card of your security stack. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6000 DP on the end of turn. And then it's blocker. Wizardmon's just being Wizardmon, basically. Sad, it references the fact of his death because it protects Gato and Kari during this season. So that's something you have to worry about here. Gatomon has barrier, and when an effect trashes this card from your security stack, you may play it without paying its cost. So basically, Salamon sets itself up. Then Neuromon can definitely trash it to gain that memory. And that just basically sets up to get yourself Gatomon out. Then you do have all turns once per turn when a card is removed from your security stack, gain 1 memory, and then it has an inheritable barrier. Then you have Angelwomon for its burst Digievolution for its ace here. On play, when Digivolving, trash the top or bottom card of your security stack. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6000 DP until the end of opponent's turn. All turns once per turn when a card is removed from your security stack. If there are 3 or fewer security cards, recovery plus 1. So not bad. It's actually pretty decent, but why would you play Magna Angemon if you want to play Angelwomon, you can, but Magna Angemon Ace is just better. Bombermon, this is basically Gamamon support. It helps in ways that you don't think it would, but being able to move the threshold down just a little bit does help out. So on play, when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP. On deletion, lose 1 memory until the end of opponent's turn. All turns, this Digimon gains all effects of this card with Gamamon its name in its Digievolution cards. And then this Digimon gains all effects of cards with Gamamon its name in its Digievolution cards. So basically, the generic, just a yellow version of, you know, the Gamamon level 5 brigades here. But just all in all, solid card for the deck. Definitely could possibly see play. Mumsymon X Antibodies. So when Digivolving, if this card has a card with Mumsymon in its name or X Antibodies in Digievolution, you may play 1 Numemon and 1 level 3 card from your hand without paying its cost. Or 1 level 3. All turns, once per turn, when another one of your Digimon is played for each of your Digievolution, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. It's not a bad card. It can definitely see play. Then we have Babamon. So on play, on deletion, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6000 TP until the end of the turn. End of your opponent's turn, by deleting one in this Digimon, you may play 1 Rosemon or Jijimon from your hand without paying its cost, then activate the when Digivolving effect of that when played. So basically, it helps with that super rare back a couple sets ago. It did absolutely nothing, but now you have access to it. Excuse me. Then we have Mega Dramon. So on play, when Digivolving by trashing the top or bottom card of your security stack, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 DP until the end of an opponent's turn. All turns once per turn when a card is removed from your security stack. If you have 3 or less security, you may play 1 yellow card from your hand without your hand at the top or bottom of your security stack. Security manipulation, really that's all you're really doing. This definitely combos nicely with Patamon. So if you do this deck as simultaneous, I think the deck might actually do really well with a Kari TK deck. So when an effect trashes this card from your security stack, one of your opponents gains security -1 until the end of an opponent's turn. So one of your opponent's Digimon, not bad. Start of your turn, if you have 2 or fewer memory, set it to 3. And then when an effect removes a card from your security stack by suspending this tamer, one of your opponent's Digimon gains security minus attack 1 until the end of the turn. Opponent's turn. So basically making it less lethal and threatening. Revelation of Light. When an effect trashes a card from your security stack, activate this security effect. When an effect trashes this card. Okay, this card. So basically Kentauros support, but you can definitely play it in its own theme. So search your security stack. You may play 1 level 4 or lower yellow Digimon card among them without paying its cost, then shuffle your security stack. If you have a tamer with Kari in the same place, this card at the top of your security stack. So basically, if you remove it by its own effect, it just doesn't change your security stack at all. That's not bad. All your opponent's Digimon and all your opponent's security Digimon get minus 5,000 DP until the end of your turn. So basically, if they hit this, it gets even nastier. Then you have Celestial Arrow. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 DP for the turn. Then by trashing the top or bottom card of your security stack, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 DP for the turn. So basically, removing threats, especially if you know how to since you're manipulating your stack so much, you can decide on how you want these trash effects to go off. Boom, your opponent's now dealing with a lot of scariness, and it's really funny to watch. Now let's get into green. Green got Bugs and Rosemon support. Crazy. Montemon. So end of turn, if this Digimon has Insectoid trait, it may attack your opponent's Digimon. So just being able to attack it is not bad. Then we have Tentomon. Tentomon starter main phase by suspending one of your Digimon. One of your opponent's Digimon with Insectoid traits gets plus 3,000 DP until the end of opponent's next turn. Then all turns, this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon by battle, gain 1 memory. I don't know how the Insectoids are going to do. I think it has potential, but I think it's definitely bottom. It's going to be one of those decks that definitely went from tier 4 to tier 3, possibly close to tier 2, but we'll have to see. Then we have Mushroomon. So on deletion, one of your opponent's Digimon cannot unsuspend until the end of opponent's turn. Vegetation support. So you know what this means. It's basically Rosemon support. It is Burst Mode support. Or it's going to be, guess what, Bloomlord support. So basically, let's spam more support for Bloomlord. Palmon X Antibody. So on play, when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. And then once per turn, when your green tamer is played, gain 1 memory. So Palmon X Antibody is decently solid. You want it, actually. Woodmon. Your turn, when one of your Digimon becomes suspended, draw a card. Okay. I mean, definitely vegetation support. You have Kabuterimon. All turns while this Digimon is suspended, it isn't affected by effects of your opponent's Digimon. And then when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, gain 1 memory. So being able to battle is not bad. The battle shenanigans can lead to be crazy. Then you have Togemon X Antibody. So we got, basically it looks like Ponchomon plus Togemon. So when Digivolving, one of your Digimon cannot unsuspend until the end of opponent's. One of your opponent's Digimon cannot unsuspend until the end of opponent's turn. If this Digimon has Togemon or X Antibody's Digievolution, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then your turn, for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon, this Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP. So definitely makes it a big scary number. It's just something to keep an eye out on. They got Mega Kabuterimon. So it's the ace here. So on play, when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets plus 3,000 DP until the end of opponent's turn. Then you may, if your opponent's Digimon is attacking, may switch the target to this Digimon. So it becomes a 10,000 DP Digimon, especially if they're swinging with a low guy. You can definitely take advantage of it. While this Digimon is suspended, it isn't affected by your opponent's effects until the of your opponent's Digimon. So basically preventing them from, only way of removing this is by battle combat or by the effective options. So not bad. That kind of gets around like War Greymon shenanigans and stuff. Then you have Cherrymon. On play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add up to 2 level 6 or higher Digimon among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. And in turn, by deleting one of your Digimon, you may play 1 Dark Master traits from your hand to an empty space in your breeding area without paying its cost. Then it has Piercing. Then you have Lilymon X Antibody. When Digivolving, if this Digimon is suspended, you may gain 1 memory. If this Digimon has Lilymon or X Antibodies Digivolutions, for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon, draw a card. Then for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. I mean, Rosemon wanted this stuff, so it's not bad. It's actually pretty solid. Then you have Puppetmon. So on play, when Digivolving, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck. This Digimon can only Digivolve into a white Digimon. End of opponent's turn, delete this Digimon. You may play one Digimon with Dark Masters and traits other than Puppetmon from your hand without paying its cost. And then it gives Piercing Inheritable. So it tries to fuel the graveyard for Apocalypsemon, and then boom, that all the Dark Masters kind of just do that. So just keep that in mind. Then you have Hercules Kabuterimon starter main phase. When Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. One of your Digimon gains Piercing for the turn, and then all turns while this Digimon is suspended, it isn't affected by your opponent's Digimon's effects. So protection is not bad. It gives one way of protection, and that's kind of what you kind of need sometimes. But the fact that this is basically an updated version of the starter deck one, it's not a bad trade-off here. Then you have Rosemon X Antibody. When Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, one of your opponent's Tamers. Then that Digimon and Tamer do not unsuspend until the end of opponent's turn. Opponent's turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is played, you may suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then opponent's turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon moves from breeding area to battle area, if this Digimon is Rosemon or X Antibody in Digivolution, you may suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Oh my goodness, so much annoyance with Rosemon X Antibody. Your opponent has to play around this thing like crazy. Then you have Izzy here. Start of your turn. If you have 2 or fewer memories, set it to 3. Opponent's turn. When an opponent's Digimon attacks by suspending this Tamer, switch the target to the attack to one of your suspended Digimon with insectoid traits. So basically, you got a cool boy. No, not cool boy. Analog Man in bugs, but it's slightly better. Just because it sets you to 3. That's rude. Don't be copying. So, Super Shocker. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. One of your Digimon with insectoid traits gains plus 3000 DP until the end of opponent's turn. Activate the main effect, then add this card to hand. Super Shocker might see play just because of the DP boost that goes for a full turn rotation. Means that, let's say you go Kabuterimon, do that, set yourself up, and then you go into Ace when they swing in. Boom, he's now swinging in for, 12k blocking. So redirect for 12k. If they're an ultimate, you kind of just have a better chance of survival. Then you have Clash of Knowledge. So suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then if you have a Tamer with Izzy in his name, one of your opponent's Digimon gains trash the top card of your security stack until the end of opponent's turn. Being able to remove things like that is crazy. Then security, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then add this card to hand. Making them forced to, if they swing in with it, they lose security, makes it so much easier for you to be annoying with it. I think that's a really nasty card. Now let's get into black cards here. We have Kokuomon. So this card is this is the non-drawer, but now it becomes a drawer. When a Digimon becomes unsuspended, draw a card. Well, since the Orumon support is wanting to unsuspend itself, might actually work. So Hagurumon, definitely, if you have any thoughts of playing Mugen or anything else, this card is amazing. So on play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Sheen or Cyborg traits, and 1 Black Tamer among them to your hand. Return the rest to the bottom of the deck in any order. So then reboot, unsuspend this Digimon during your opponent's unsuspend phase. You guys reboot, but the fact that it can help with Justimon, help with any of the Cyborg decks, this deck is exactly the card you needed. This card is just so good, and it's not even funny. And it's an uncommon, so keep that in mind. Then you have Ryudamon. I don't like the art. The sword is just kind of weird to me, but start a main phase by placing 1 Yulin from your hand as this Digimon bottom illusion card. This Digimon isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon until the end of opponent's turn. Then all turns, when this card becomes suspended, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers with a play cost less than or equal to this Digimon. Okay. Then we have Numemon X Antibody. So Numemon X Antibody, while this Digimon has Numemon or X Antibody in its name, this is basically for Mumzemon. So it gains on deletion, you may play 1 Digimon with Numemon in its name from your trash without paying its cost. On deletion, you may play 1 Digimon with Numemon in its name. Same thing. Basically, if it's removed, it has the same inheritable. Then we have Aerodramon Reboot. So on play, when Digivolving, play 1 Marvin Jackson from your hand under this Digimon as a bottom Digivolution card. D-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. It's not a bad thing for its on play. For 5 costs, you get to put your Tamer underneath, who will just come out at the end phase or just stick around. Then we have Omekimon. This card is just straight up for the Gabumon, black-based Gabumon, you know, the Blitz and Crest Gurumon Alter S deck. So definitely support there. Wasn't expecting that, but it's kind of good to see it. So on play, if it is your turn, one of your other Digimon may Digivolve into a black Digimon with Greymon or Garurumon in its name from your hand, with the Digievolution cost reduced by 2. So playing for free is not for its hard play cost. It's a blocker. Digicross for Agumon or Greymon, Gabumon, or Garurumon. When you would play this card, you may place specific cards from your hand or battle area under it, each place reduced. And then once returned for when attacking, Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. So it's not bad. I think this might help the deck a little bit. Will it make it overly competitive? No, but it definitely helps the deck with some synergy issues it had. Then you have Gardramon. So blocker on play when Digivolving by trashing 1 card with Machine or Cyborg in its traits. One of your opponent's Digimon cannot... Your Digimon cannot be deleted by your opponent's effects until the end of opponent's turn. While your opponent has no Digimon, this Digimon cannot attack. Okay. You know, I wish they would just remove that, but... you know, whatever. So on play in that when Digivolving, being able to trash a card, and then when one of your Digimon cannot be deleted by your opponent's effects, keeps that, you know, Digimon effect deleted by your opponent's effects until the end of opponent's turn. That's huge. Just being able to prevent it from leaving play keeps the stack around a little bit longer. We have Jinryumon. So it's a blocker on play when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. If this Digimon has a Tamer card with the Digipolice traits in its Digivolution, that Digimon cannot unsuspend until the end of opponent's next turn. Locking down, not a bad trade-off. All turns when this Digimon becomes suspended, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamer without paying, with a play cost less than or equal to this Digimon. Okay, then we have Gigadramon. So on play, reveal the top 4 cards of the deck, add up to 2 level 6. This is Dark Master support. End of turn, you know, this is basically doing what all the level 5s have done. End of a turn, by deleting one of your Digimon, you may play 1 Digimon card with Dark Masters and traits from your hand to an empty space in the breeding area without paying its cost, and it has reboot. Okay, fun shenanigans here. Let's get into the Mugen stuff. Okay, on play, when Digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Place 1 card with Machine Dramon, Cyborg, or SOC trait among them as the Digimon's bottom Digievolution card, and add 1 such card to your hand, trash the rest. So basically, you can plus. And that's what you're trying to hear. When attacking, this Digimon has a Tamer with SOC in its traits in the Digivolution. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamer with a play cost 3 or less. I think that's not bad. And when attacking, once per turn, Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. I think it has potential. It has some very niche, very unique play, but Mugen might want to play this anyway. Just very solid searcher. Then you have War Mumsy. So on play, when Digivolving, trash 1 card with Numemon in its traits from your hand or from this Digivolution card, Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. On play, by placing 1 card with Numemon in its name from your trash as a bottom Digivolution card. All your opponent's Digimon with a play cost 5 or less cannot attack players until the end of opponent's turn. And then your turn, while this Digimon has Numemon or Mumsy in its name, it gains security +1. Okay. Then we have Hisurimon. So all turns, when an effect suspends another Digimon or Tamer, if this Digimon has a Tamer with Digipolice in its traits, you may Digivolve this Digimon into a Beast Dragon or Digipolice traits from your hand without paying its cost. So definitely could see some synergy with D-Brigade or its own deck. So all turns, once per turn, when an effect suspends another Digimon or Tamer, unsuspend one of your Digimon with Beast or Digipolice. Hey, not a bad inheritable. Then we got Machine Dramon here. So on play, when Digivolving, Digivolve 2, one of your opponent's Digimon. So I think when attacking and on play is huge. This is basically an improvement from its old counterpart from set 1. But hey, this can only Digivolve into a white. So basically, if you want to play this, you have to play it a certain way. But end of turn, delete this Digimon. Then you may play 1 Digimon card with Dark Masters and traits other than Machine Dramon from your hand without paying its cost. Then it has reboot. So being able to have that Digivolve 2 can be really nasty. So what you probably want to do if you're going to play this, you play this at 1 max in your deck. So you just cycle this in. And then basically, at the end of your turn, use your protection skill, keep it on the board. It tries to blow itself up. You trash one of their security. And then basically, you'll always be able to keep swinging in Digivolve. So as long as you have the resources to keep doing that, this card can get really nasty. But I don't see it more than 1 in Machine Dramon. Dark Masters, other story. Blocker! So, Oriumon. So when Digivolving, if you have a Tamer with Deep Digipolice traits in this Digivolution card, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon or Tamers to the bottom of the deck. All turns with return, when this card becomes suspended, you may play one Digimon card with Beast Digimon or Digitrait with 5000 DP or less from your hand without paying its cost. Fuels the board, gets yourself going. This probably might see play with D-Brigade. Who knows? We'll have to see. I think this is a lot of potential and has a lot of great stuff going for it. Super Connection. Oh my goodness. The card I've been waiting to talk about for a bit. So, main, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Add one card with machine or cyborg traits among them to your hand. Trash one card with machine or cyborg traits among them. Return the rest to the top of the deck. Then place this card into the battle area. Delay. You may play one level 5 or higher Digimon with machine or cyborg and its traits from your cast for a reduced cost 3. So this is huge because Mugen now goes in from 5 to an 8 cost reduction. Means you can actually play this EX1 Mugen very cheaply. And then security, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Add one card with machine or cyborg and its traits to your hand. Trash one card with machine and cyborg and its traits. Return the rest to the top of the deck. Then place this card into the battle area. Boom. I love it. I love it. This card is exactly what Mugen wanted, and it's exactly what you need. Ultra Slice. By trashing one card with machine or cyborg and its traits or SOC trait from your hand, delete one of your opponent's Digimon and Tamer with the lowest play cost. Not a bad level 5 option removal. I don't know if this will see play, but we'll have to see. Then we have Marvin Jackson. So it has the Mind Link, machine, cyborg, or SCO. All turns for its inheritable. While this Digimon has machine or cyborg and its traits, this Digimon gains jamming, blocker, and end of all turns, you may play Marvin Jackson from your Digivolution cards without paying its cost. Start of the main phase by trashing one card with machine, cyborg, or SOC trait in your hand. Gain 1 memory. So, fuels another mini analog man is what it looks like. Will it see play? Who knows? It might want to see play, but the space is just overly tight right now. Then you have Julin. So, start of your turn, if you have to set yourself to 3, Mind Link one of your Digimon with X antibody or Digipolice. All turns while this Digimon has X antibody or Digipolice traits, this Digimon gains Alliance and Reboot. Then you may play one Zulin from this Digimon Digivolution without paying its cost. So the Mind Link's awesome, sets yourself up really good, but hopefully we can continue as we see more and more good stuff, and I can't wait to see what Mugen does this coming set. So let's talk about it. Well, we're getting now into the last leg of the race. We'll have to talk about all the good stuff in purple. Demi-Meramon. Finally, maybe a card that could dethrone the original BT3 Demi-Meramon. So on deletion, by trashing one level 5 or higher Digimon card in your hand, draw 2 cards. So this definitely helps with Leviamon or Laviamon. This card is definitely going to help out there. You could definitely play it in your Dark Masters support or Myotismon support decks. So I think this is going to be very versatile and probably useful with your big end decks, especially if you want to play with Balfamon. Balfamon would probably prefer this card all in generalization. Then you have Gazemon. So on play, one of your opponent's Digimon gains on deletion, lose 1 memory until the end of your opponent's next turn. So a little bit of a threat here, but all turns when an opponent's Digimon is played by an effect, gain 1 memory. That's not bad trade-off here, because now, especially against green decks like Bloomlord that likes to spit out a body for breathing, or even purple decks that like to spit out bodies for breathing, as long as you have the inheritable stack up right, you could easily make it so it passes turn back to you. So that's going to be really awesome. Then you have Candlemon on deletion. If your opponent has 1 or less memory, draw a card. If your opponent has 1 or more memory, gain 1 memory. So a lot of potential here. There's very much interesting. I like that there's trying to manipulate memory now more and more, and it's going to see very interesting what they do in the future. Then we have Demi-Meramon on play. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Myotismon and its text among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of the deck. And then if you added a card, trash 1 card in your hand, and then it gives retaliation. So it kind of fits with the, inheritable giving effect that if it has retaliation, it gains the rush. So you use Myotismon, stuff like that, just to combo in. So just remember that the old EX1 Myotismon stuff wanted to play that way. So it might be interesting to see if the retaliation stays a long time. Then we have Lugamon, so a new good doggo. So when Digivolving by trashing 1 card in your hand, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. If a tamer with SCO traits is in this Digivolution cards, draw a card. So it kind of cycles back in. especially if they're going to play memory shenanigans, memory blockers, or anything like that, or Pumumon kind of esque effects. You can lock them out of this kind of way of thinking. This wouldn't stop Crimson Blaze, but it would stop the rookies that are annoying. So, you know, being able to have this thing when attacking, be able to delete that 3000 DP or less would help out. And then end of attack, if your opponent has 1 or more memory, gain 1 memory. So, easy way of passing it back to your turn if you had to warp, you know, blitz over 4 effects. Then you have Vilemon. So, blocker, you know, very interesting to see that they went with this route. So, it's 4000 DP with an effect blocker. When your Apocalyptic Mon or Digimon with Dark Masters traits would leave the battle area other than by one of your effects, delete this Digimon, prevent it from leaving play. So, being able to lock your Digimon in is going to be really amazing. Then you have Bakemon, when Digivolving, or Bokamon. When Digivolving, on deletion, draw a card, then trash 1 card in your hand, and then has Retaliation inheritable. Not bad. Then we have Gasomon. So blocker on play, when Digivolving, your opponent may trash 1 Digimon card in their hand. If they don't, gain a memory. And then your turn, while your opponent has no Digimon, this Digimon cannot attack. And then all attacks, when opponent's Digimon is played by an effect, gain 1 memory. Okay, not a terrible trade-off there. Then you have Lugarmon. So when Digivolving, when attacking by trashing 1 card in your hand, delete 1. This Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn. So, I mean, being a 7000 DP swinger, and then if you have the Tamer, a SOC, Tamer in its traits, in its Digievolutions, draw a card. And then end of a turn, if your opponent has 1 or more memory, gain 1 memory. So just threatening, being a nasty little guy. Then you have Myotismon Ace. So this is purple's first ace. We're waiting for a level 5 for black though. So counter blast Digievolution blocker. On play, when Digivolving, you may play 1 purple level 3 Digimon card or 1 purple Tamer card from your trash without paying its cost. I don't know how I feel about it. There is very interesting interactions you could do with it. But at the end of the day, I think Myotismon Ace might not see as much play. It has 8000 DP. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed going to stop most threats and going into him for being a blocker at a level 5. Unless he has some major stuff. I mean, the retail might be the only way it's going to be easy to stop anything. But it's just something you have to think about. Then you have Lady Devi here. So on play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 2 level 6 or higher Digimon among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of the deck. And then end a turn by deleting 1 of your Digimon. You may play 1 Digimon card with Dark Masters from your hand to an empty space in your breeding area without paying its cost. And it has Retaliation. As you know, that Piedmon and Lady Devi kind of went hand in hand. At the end, remember that whole slap fight with Angelwomon and Lady Devi? That was funny. That was basically during the Piedmon interaction. So then you have War Seedramon. So this card is very interesting. This was not expected. People were thinking it was going to be Marina Devimon or something like that. But all turns, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is played by an effect, all your opponent's Digimon gain on deletion, lose 1 memory until the end of opponent's turn. When attacking your opponent plays 1 level 4 or lower Digimon card from their trash suspended without paying its cost. And any on-play effects of that Digimon played by this effect do not activate, then you may switch the attack target to that Digimon. So it's really interesting because you force your opponent to play a body and then you get to swing into it. So that's going to be nasty, and then it has Piercing inheritable. So War Seedramon has a lot of potential in my opinion. Then we have upgraded Piedmon. So on play, when Digivolving, delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon, one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. I wish it kind of made like similar to the, you know, what happened with 1, 2, 3, 4. You know how he turned all the kids into trinkets? I wish he had that effect. I wish it was more reminiscing of his effect to be able to turn them into, you know, toys. Instead of being like tamers with effects, he could have nullified the effects of the tamers, turning them into like, all they could do is be like their memory setters. So if it had a memory setter effect, could be live. If not, it shuts down everything. So that would have been very interesting for Piedmon, and I would have loved to see that, to be honest with you. Hopefully they use that as an effect in the future, because that would be an interesting way of changing your opponent's tamers into toys. And that would be amazing. And then basically turn them into offline tamers. They don't have any additional effects. They can only gain memory if they are on the board. So your opponent can't manipulate or use effects of weird, you know, their memory setters or their regular 3-cost tamers. Being able to set, I would have done that for him. Instead of being able to delete one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon, make it so it turned tamers into toys. That would have been an interesting concept. But I digress. And opponent's turn, delete this Digimon, then you may play one Digimon with Dark Masters other than Piedmon from your hand without paying its cost. Retaliation. Just kind of fueling itself like all the other Dark Masters. Then you have RideMyAvatar on play when Digimon on deletion. Triple threat here, boys. It is a blocker. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon with level 5 or lower. For doing this, it should have just did Megas, but I kind of get it. It was kind of overpowering the level 5s a lot. We have Liverymon X Antibody. Nobody saw this coming, but it's really cool to see him. So all turns when an opponent's Digimon or Tamer is played by an effect, one of your Liverymon or one of your Digimon with X Antibodies Digivolutions may Digivolve into this card from your trash without paying its cost. I think that's pretty awesome. It's not a bad trade-off here, and then security +2. This thing has 3 security checks at 14. This thing can get scary. And then when Digivolving, your opponent has as many or more Digimon and Tamers as you do. Delete one of your opponent's Tamers, then delete one of your opponent's level 3, level 5, and level 7 Digimon. So that's kind of nasty there. And then you use 7th Lightning. So after you do this, when one of your Digimon Digivolves into Liverymon X Antibody, by returning this card to the bottom of the deck, delete opponent's level 4 and level 6. So basically, you Raigeki for 2 cards here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's nothing staying on this board once this goes in the trash, and then you go into this. For a Raigeki on your opponent's side, then by trashing 1 card in your hand, delete one of your opponent's level 4 and level 6s. Not a bad level 7, but you would just normally just trash it in there at the same time Liverymon X Antibody was in there. And then you go into your Liverymon, and then boom, all of a sudden he goes in, you get 7th Lightning and his effect, board wipe. If they're not still standing after that, I would be surprised. So by deleting one of your Digimon, you may play 1 Myosimon from your trash without paying its cost, Fog Barrier, then play this card into your battle area. When your Myosimon is deleted, delay, you may play 1 RideMyAvatar from your trash without paying its cost. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. Then you have excuse me. I didn't need that. Thank you. So we have Venom Infusion. So by trashing 1 Digimon card in your hand, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a level less than or equal to the card trash. If you trash the card with Myosimon and its text, draw 2. So basically, you're going to be drawing some card advantage with your Venoms, Myosimon. You know, plenty of potential here. Let's see if Myosimon can actually do something. And then finally, the big and only white card, Apocalyptic Mon, which is very interesting to me. I don't think he got an option this set. No, weird. Usually the secrets have 1 option between them too. So, I mean, Metal Grumon got 1, but I'm surprised this didn't. When this card would be played by placing up to 3 cards with Dark Masters and traits and different names from your battle area or trash under this card, reduce the play cost by 4 for each card placed. So it's green, purple, blue, and black is the color combination here. So it's quite nasty. Then basically you put up 4, 4, 8, 12. This becomes a 3 play cost. This thing's nasty. This thing is scary, actually. End a turn once per turn by placing 1 level 6 or lower Digimon in the trash of this bottom Digivolution. Activate one of the on-play effects of that played card placed by this effect. Then for each level 6 in this Digivolution card, trash the top 2 card of your opponent's deck. So he can mill your opponent deck out. Apocalyptic Mon is nasty. I gotta say, I can't wait for the ulti art. But you know what? Apocalyptic Mon, or, you know, without the crust, you know, all I get is the crust Mon. Man, oh man, I can't wait to see how ridiculous this deck can get and show off. So guys, what are you excited for BT15? Let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace!